Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up. Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing.
Hey, Allie.
Well, hey, man, and welcome to the 8th season of Sis and Tell.
Welcome.
I don't know who I was welcoming. I guess you and me and all of our listeners who are hopefully sticking with us and have been with us and continuing to be with us.
Yeah, we are 5.5 years in at this point.
Crazy.
That is crazy. That's crazy. And Happy New Year.
And happy New Year. Yes. How's your New Year been going? All 2 weeks of it.
I have to tell you, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions.
Me neither.
I feel like if you have to wait for January 1st to roll around to decide to do something, you're not going to stick to it, right? Yeah. And by you, I mean me.
Well, and that's what, I'm an Orange Theory fanatic, and we're all laughing because it hasn't been like over full, but it's definitely filling up, and everybody's sort of like chattering about the same thing on Facebook and social media, like just wait till February, it'll die down again, right? This is all the people, the eager beavers who are like, yes, I'm going to work out, and okay, I'm not going to stick to that, which I'm not. I am actually an optimist, so anybody who thinks that they can change their routine, I'm here to tell you, you can. I am a night owl, a dedicated, bona fide night owl, and I became a morning person because I just did it.
Yeah.
Right?
It has to be like a lifestyle change, right?
It is. But there's a great quote by the gentleman who started Habitat for Humanity, and he said, "It is easier to act yourself into a new way of thinking than to think yourself into a new way of acting."
You are a walking quote book. You'd be so good at Jeopardy. They'd be like quotable quotes. Or
only if I get my category. But do you understand what that means, right? Like if you just say, oh, I'm going to change the way I work out or the way that I talk to people or the way that I interact with my children, then it doesn't happen. You have to actually do it. And the habit of doing it becomes your new mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. And now, my body actually has caught up to my mind, or my mind has caught up to my body, because I wake up at 5:45 every morning, but really I wake up at like 5:40 and my body's like, okay, you're about to wake up. Let's go. So
I'm glad your body and mind have caught up with each other. I'm still waiting for, my eyes are still bigger than my stomach. I feel like that's related. And I tend to overeat. Usually it's chips and salsa. So I have 2 unusual performances coming up in the next couple of months that I'm very excited about. Number 1 is something that you've actually done, and that is I have been asked to participate in the local Dancing with the Stars, the fundraiser.
Mazel tov.
I am so excited, and they're going to assign me a choreographer, and they're like, you can start practicing. We recommend you start practicing the first or second week of February. And I'm like, can I start practicing as soon as possible?
Wait, a choreographer, or you mean a dance partner?
Both.
Or is that both?
Well, both. It's the choreographer / dance partner.
I was going to say, when you say choreographer, it sounds like they're going to choreograph a solo routine, which also is unusual, but not,
No, I need a partner.
I feel like you would love that.
Yeah. No, I don't. I want to dance with someone. I don't want to dance by myself. That would make me super nervous. And then I'm going to be on camera
for
a colonoscopy.
Wait, you're young for a colonoscopy. Do they recommend it at your age?
45.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Aaron went and got his, and I was there, of course, to pick him up. And I really had a good time with the nurses and the doctor, and I was making them laugh so much. And I was like, I need to schedule mine. And the doctor's like, if you are already in the system at this hospital, she's like, I can just schedule it for you. You don't need to go get a referral. So she goes, have you been here before? And I go, Yes, and I've been here. I said me and my vagina have been to this hospital so many times.
TMI.
So she scheduled me for February, and I know it's ridiculous that I'm excited about my colonoscopy, but it's only because I'm totally gonna do like a TikTok video about it. It's gonna be hilarious. It is.
I will say I've had one, came back, results good, thank you, clean as a whistle, and it is the best nap you will ever have, and it's only like 20 minutes.
That's what I
But
hear.
I thought they forgot about me. I woke up and I was like, they forgot to do my colonoscopy and they've left me here. And then I realized it was all over, and I felt so rested. I'm
Oh.
like, I'll do that all the time.
Nice, better than melatonin. Well, so
Yeah.
okay, something embarrassing did happen around this, and so Aaron, who, as you know, is an attorney, he has to put in what's called a leave of absence so that he's not scheduled for court during certain dates. So he copied me in on an email with his paralegal and was like, "Can you confirm if there are any other dates?" And I said, "Well, on the end of February, I need you available on this day because he has to come with me to my colonoscopy." And his Danette, his paralegal, responds and goes, "Oh yeah, I already I have it in the calendar as Amanda goes to see the butt camera." And so cuz that's what I wrote in the calendar when I sent the invite to Aaron, not realizing that Danette was seeing the exact same thing. I thought maybe she would just see that he was busy. I didn't know she saw the details. So duly noted to be careful what I put in that meeting maker.
Duly noted. Now, here's the real question. How are you going to clean yourself out? Because there's many methods now. There used to only be one method where you had to drink like a gallon of this gross stuff.
Yeah.
Then when I had mine a couple years ago, they were down to these two small bottles that were already pre-filled, pre-measured, pre-mixed. I thought it was going to taste more like Gatorade, but it's very salty, which caught me off guard.
Ugh.
Now, apparently, and mommy, I'm sure, is saying this as she's listening to this, there are pills you can take
There's a
that have
pill.
the same effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Aaron was when he did his, they gave him this giant container with powder in it, and he was going to have to drink it, like fill it up with water and drink it
Yeah.
on and go.
That's old school.
And I was like, "You need to get the pill." And he kept on putting it off, and I'm like, "I'm telling you, you do. I know you do not want to be drinking this all day." So he went and got the pill, and it's actually pills, which I didn't know. I thought it was like
Oh,
one pill, and there's like 16 pills that you have to take
wow.
throughout the day. There's multiple pills and a ton of water, and you start taking it at a certain point, and then you have to wake up like 3 hours before your procedure and take more pills
Right.
just to get any remnants or whatever. I don't know. So I actually asked them to prescribe me the pills. They prescribed me the wrong thing and I canceled it. So I have to actually call them back and be like, "Hey, can you give me those pills?"
So the two things I drank actually were not bad. I'm a
I
little
can't believe
neurotic.
I can't believe we cannot talk about this any longer.
I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna say I'm a little neurotic. Let me just end with this. So I have a whole notes dedicated to this in my phone about everything I ate and when I ate it and what I didn't eat even 2 days before. So I'm happy to share that with you to make this experience go as pleasantly as possible.
Oh,
And if
uh,
anybody else wants the notes I
it's
took from
just
the nurse.
Jello that's not red and chicken broth, right?
Yeah, but it's also I wouldn't eat anything really heavy like 2 days before because it'll stay in your system, right?
Okay.
Like white carbs, this is good news. White carbs like pasta and stuff are your best friend. You can eat those like a nonstop for the few days
All
before
right. Good.
until the 24 hours before. Well, speaking of PSAs, I've got one
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
So, as you know, we were out of the country for break, and our middle son was studying in Spain, and we went to go see him. Then we all met up, and before we left to go from Madrid we're taking a train to Barcelona. Unfortunately, our oldest son Arthur got food poisoning.
Oh no.
So,
Ugh,
and if you know food
gross.
poisoning, it hits you fast and hard.
What did
And
he eat?
well, who knows? It was some, tapas place around the corner from where we were staying. It was like noon and he decides everybody else is drinking beer, so I'll drink a beer. He's 22. And then he came home, he was like, I probably shouldn't had that for lunch. It was a heavy lunch. He immediately didn't feel good. By that night, he was rallying a little bit, but still didn't feel good. And then overnight, he couldn't keep anything down. So he
Poor
wakes up the
Arthur.
next morning. So this is not just, I don't really want to just tell the story for the sake of telling it, but this was a really important learning lesson for me because it's kind of scary to be out of, not just even out of your city, but out of your country, in a foreign country where you really don't speak the language and you need medical attention. And I didn't, immediately know what to do. So it's 5:30 in the morning. He had been, throwing up all night. He couldn't keep anything in, and he was obviously dehydrated. So we were supposed to take a 9:30 train, to give you the
Ugh.
context of
And
how this was
you do
going.
not want to be trapped on a train.
No, you do not. And he couldn't even move, and he was in agony. So Alan's running. He goes to, like, the 24-hour pharmacist to see if we can get something. We were in an Airbnb, so he actually went to a hotel to ask, the front desk staff what they recommended. And it's socialized medicine. So everybody sort of goes to the hospital for everything, right? You feel you have a stomach ache, you go to the hospital. It's not dire, but they're like, you should take him to the hospital. We're like, we're not going to the hospital. So I Google search out of desperation. I do a Google search saying, need doctor in Spain, who to call. And up from my Google search pops up this thing called Air Doctor. And I start reading reviews on, Trustpilot and such, and people were all like, in various countries, I had a toothache and needed a dentist. I called Air Doctor. I had this and needed Air Doctor, like, in all 5-star reviews. So I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? So I go on, I fill out a little, 2-second thing to create an identity. I log in. They're like, what's wrong? What do you need? When do
Oh,
you
it's
need it
all through the
by?
computer.
It's all through the computer and an app. And it's at this point like 6:30. They're like, how soon do you need a doctor? I'm like, 7 o'clock, which I knew was lofty. And then there's like the spinning wheel of, we're trying to connect you, trying to connect you. So I download the app and then I can message them. So I'm messaging with them. They're like, yes, we are trying to find you a doctor for your son and all this stuff. When I tell you, by 8 o'clock that morning, so within an hour and a half, uh, a doctor showed up at our Airbnb,
Oh, they came in person. It wasn't.
came in person. No, this is not even right. This is in person. This is not even virtual. She came. That was my next thing. So she came in person. She was able to quickly identify that it was food poisoning and not, like,
How did she
the
know?
flu. Well, he didn't have fever. He wasn't sweating. He wasn't all that. It was purely
Nausea.
just,
Yeah, throwing up.
gastro.
Yeah.
And so now it's 8:30 and I've got to get to Barcelona because Levi's flying in there to meet
Oh.
us.
Oh.
So we divide and conquer. So Abe and I get on a train. We leave Alan behind with Arthur. I'm trying to extend the Airbnb. I mean, all of this is just, it's crazy. But
Oh, what a pain.
long story, even longer, they end up taking a cab to the hospital. And I will tell you, the second thing I
Why did
Googled,
she think that you should go to the hospital? Because he was dehydrated?
he was dehydrated, and she wanted them to run some blood work just to be sure. And I was like, whatever right at that point, you're just like, I just want my kid to
Feel
be
better.
okay,
Yeah.
because he was in agony. And at the same time, I was actually Googling IV places, because in the States, you can now go to places if you're anything from hungover or just need fluids or dehydrated, and you can get an IV, and it really does perk you up. So I thought, if I can't get a doctor, I'm just going to get somebody to come here and give them an IV or go somewhere. Luckily, they go to the hospital. I'm trying to get the Airbnb to, like, extend. They're like, sorry, we're so sorry. We have people coming. You have to be out by 11. I'm like, oh
shit.
my gosh. So I'm on a train with Abe. It's now 10:30 in the morning, or 10:15 in the morning. I get a text, and I have left. You have to understand, Arthur, he was in agony. 10:30, Alan sends a picture of them, a selfie. All good. Arthur's blood work came back fine. He got an IV. The doctor cleared him for travel. We're going back to pack, and we'll get on the next train. And
Oh
that's what
my
happened.
God.
So to go from like a 5:30 in the morning panic to 5 hours later, he was, for all intents and purposes, healthy enough to travel and felt good. And he was, it took a while for his body to feel normal, but he got
Yeah.
on a 12:30 train. And I just want to say, I cannot stress it enough. I know there's other like services in different parts of the world, but if you are ever somewhere and you are in desperate need of a doctor, and I'm telling you, some people were like, I needed a root canal or something, right? Things happen. Air Doctor, AIR Doctor. This is not a paid advertisement, but I am so grateful for what they did for us, because at a time when you feel very lost and felt like, oh my gosh,
How would you
I
have
don't know what
done
to
that
do.
like 30 years ago before the
Right.
internet? Like, I mean, I guess you just would have ended up going to the hospital.
Well, we would end up calling a cab, right? Like looking in the yellow pages, finding a cab company, taking us to whatever closest hospital we could. And also, I don't speak Spanish. I speak very little, enough to like,
Get you
maybe
in
say a
trouble.
few words and where's
Yeah.
the bathroom. But to be in a foreign country and to be sick and to know that you're taken care of. The doctor spoke fluent English and Spanish. I mean, she navigated all of that for us. So anyway, it was a bad situation, which had, I think, the best case scenario outcome. And all I could think was, I have got to tell people about this because you don't want to be in that position, but
Yeah.
God forbid anybody ever is. Air doctor. It works. Yeah, the other challenging thing I had was, and less dire, is the difference in words there. So we were at this restaurant, and next to us, these people had this picture of like some fruit punch sangria, and it looked amazing. Like imagine every like beautiful fruit and like filled with
I
ice, which
love
ice is a
sangria.
hot commodity. And so we say to the people, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, fruit punch sangria." I said, "Okay." So the waitress comes. She goes, "Are you ready to order drinks?" I'm like, "Yes, we would like a pitcher of your, fruit or passion fruit sangria, not fruit punch, your passion fruit sangria." She goes, "Okay, we don't have that." And I'm like, "You don't have what?" "We don't have what you are saying." I was like, "You don't have pitchers of sangria?" "No." I said, "Okay." So I looked to the table to my right, and all the boys are looking at me, and I said,
Carafe. Is it
well, I
carafe?
said, "I want what they have." And she goes, "Ah, okay, we have that." And I'm thinking, "What did I just say?" So
Yeah.
she comes back and I said, "So when I said pitcher, that's not correct." She says, "I don't know what that is." Right. She maybe thought a picture. And I said, "What do you call this?" She goes, "A jar." I said, "Oh, a
Oh.
jar."
Do they not
'Cause
have? Yeah. Maybe she also didn't know that word in English.
right. But it's just interesting because she literally was like, "No, we don't have anything you're talking about." I'm like, "I'm looking." I kept saying, "I'm staring at it at the next table. Just bring me
That's
theirs
funny.
if you don't want to bring me." So,
That's so interesting. So,
but that was an easy situation to resolve.
so there was quite a traveling debacle while you were in Europe in the United States with Southwest Airlines
Oh, I heard.
and
I heard.
Delta, but it was really Southwest because their computer system is so antiquated. They would have the flight attendants and pilots in one area of the country, and they needed to be in another where they were supposed to take off. It was like a mess. And then also, it was the holidays, and there was inclement weather. It was just like total disaster. During this time, Murray's also supposed to fly to Tampa for a New Year's Eve party slash reunion with some camp friends. So we were at some point he starts panicking and be like, "What's happening to my Southwest flight? Is it going to be canceled? Is it going to be delayed? Am I still going?" And I realized I needed to pay attention more to what was going on because all these parents started freaking out, and I was like, "It'll be fine." So everyone started jumping the Southwest ship, rebooking their kids on Delta, except for me and this one mom. And I'm just like, "It'll be okay. It'll be fine." He wasn't flying out until like the 30th of December. So I'm like, he'll be okay. So it was literally like hour to hour. People had sent me so many different websites to track what was happening with Southwest. And it looked like the specific flight he was on, it had been canceled all the other days. But then there's this big CNN article saying, "Don't worry about it. Southwest is going to figure everything out by Friday."
They've got this.
They've got the Friday, and I was assuming it was a press release that Southwest had sent out, and that's how it happened. And I was like, I hedged my bets. I kept Murray on this Southwest flight. It all ended up fine, and the airport terminal for Southwest, because I had to get a gate pass, it was empty. There was
Really?
no one there. People were so afraid to fly Southwest, and there was a woman passing out snacks. It felt like a kindergarten teacher with a big bin of gifts, and they were just trying to make people happy with snacks. And they're like,
That makes me happy.
yeah.
I'm easily bribed.
They're like, "Would you like a snack? Would you like a snack?" Murray's like, "Why are they giving out snacks?" And they gave us, and we didn't have any issues with our flight, but they gave us like enough award points where we can buy a ticket with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because
I
they were so
think
grateful you were flying?
I think if you were booked on a flight during the period of time where it was crazy, they just gave everyone
Wow.
those points. So we weren't even, his flight was delayed coming back by 10 minutes. That was
Yeah.
it. That was the only, and wasn't even an issue. That just happens. So he said, like, it was like half full. It was crazy.
Wow. And
So
poor Southwest. I mean, Southwest has, traditionally, historically been the most flexible, the most nimble, forgiving airline, right? People who are frequent flyers say you can cancel the flight 10 minutes before and you get all your money back. I mean, baggage is free. Yeah, they had that
yeah,
funny
2
commercial.
bags.
Why do airlines hate your bags, right? They they don't want you to bring it. But, when it's good, it's very, very good, and when it's bad, it
It's
hits them very
horrid.
hard. So, and we don't even have Southwest here. I would fly it. I'm a Delta loyalist, but I do love Southwest in its day when I was flying it. It's a great airline. I hope they can recover.
They used to have a reality show. Did you ever watch that Southwest Airlines reality show?
No.
It was awesome. It was like before all those videos on TikTok and Instagram, the viral videos of people going crazy in airports and on flights.
Yeah.
Like Southwest already had like there's this it's from like 10 or 15 years ago. It was
Yeah.
like in the beginning of reality TV. And it was just what happens at the gate. Like we have a drunk passenger, we have a belligerent passenger, we have someone's proposing, right?
Yeah.
It was all these different things.
Well, I'll
So,
tell you, the European airlines and the European airports, they do not coddle you the way American airlines do, right? Like, and American Airlines, not the specific airline, but all airlines from the United States. We were flying, and we were going from Spain to Portugal at one point, and we're sitting. First of all, they don't announce your gate till like 30 minutes, 45 minutes before. So they
oh,
finally announce
so
our
where do you
gate.
go? Where do you hang out?
I mean, in like the airport mall, which was very nice, right? There's tons of shops and places. So everybody's sort of waiting. And then they're like, okay, go to this gate. So we go to the gate and we were supposed to board. There's nobody there. There's no, attendant there. And we're supposed to board. That time passes 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later. And I'm thinking, this is not a good sign. So I go on my app, the Flight Aware, which tracks,
Oh
flight
yeah,
status.
I use
And
that.
it's the best. And so I go on Flight Aware and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they've already on Flight Aware, it says delayed by 2 hours. And it's tracking the plane that's coming in. So all these people are kind of just sitting there. And finally, the English speaking people start talking and we're like, the flight is delayed. They're like, how do you know? I go, well, I went on my app, but otherwise, nobody's telling you. So nobody ever told us.
So was it delayed by 2 hours?
Yeah, it was delayed by 2 hours. Finally, an hour later, I go to the big board and it's like, gate change for this flight. We'll let you know in 30 minutes. That was the
Oh
only
my
status
God,
update.
that would give me such anxiety.
Well, I went back and I was like, okay, they're going to let us know the new gate in 30 minutes. So 30 minutes later, sure enough, they changed our gate. We go to a new gate. We left 2 hours late. When I tell you, and it didn't actually bother me, but no one explained what happened. No one apologized. No one came on. If they did, it wasn't in
Just like
a
it
language I
happens.
understood. It just happened. And they were like, figure it out. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is how and nobody was panicking. Nobody was complaining. Nobody was getting upset. I guess if somebody's flight, they were going to miss their flight, they rescheduled it. But people were just sort of hanging out like, okay, this is how it works. And we landed 2 hours late, which was not the biggest deal. We didn't have anywhere to be. So I'm like, this is such a different mentality than the United States, where obviously, right, they're handing out snacks and free bonus points left and right, just in anticipation of people freaking out and being upset.
Oh yeah. Well, I bet also the coffee was really good at that airport.
It was really good, right? Also, the flights are dirt cheap. So,
Right,
when you're
it's like a
paying
bus.
$100, right,
Yeah.
to fly like from one country to another versus however much we're paying in this country, which is insane. But
So, mommy and daddy were in town, and I went out to lunch with them and Uncle Billy and Aunt Robin. And when I tell you the entire conversation for an hour was about shackets, I
jackets,
shackets.
shackets with an SH.
Yes, a shacket is, and as mommy says, it's when a shirt and a jacket get together and have a baby, and it's a shacket.
It's a shacket. It
It,
sounds like a little commercial.
right. And so mommy's obsessed with shackets.
She is.
They've
Yeah.
been around for decades,
Yes.
but they weren't always called shackets, and now you can get them everywhere from Old
What were they
Navy.
called? Just big flannel shirts?
So I have to say, I made a TikTok video about this, and I don't know how many boomers are on TikTok, but I feel like at this point they're all following me and they all have opinions about shackets because it it goes to show you that you can be on social media and say the most mundane thing and people will find a way to debate about it and get upset.
Yeah, you're
Because
getting upset just about this. I can tell. You
yes,
got a little heated just
because
now.
people are like I'm like, how can you not tell this is? I'm joking. I'm like, guess what? Shackets are trending. Winter 2023. Shackets are all the rage. And I tell them all about this conversation I had where mommy's obsessed with shackets. She's explaining to Billy and Robin about shackets. She brought me a shacket. Dad's wearing a shacket. She's telling us about the shackets she's gotten you and your conversations about shackets. In walks this 35-year-old guy with his girlfriend. He's wearing a shacket. What
Of
does
course he
mommy
is.
do? Guess what mommy did?
Did she approach him and ask him about his shacket?
No, even worse. She had us all turn and stare at him. And it was like it was like the smallest restaurant, so it was so obvious. And mommy, she thinks she's subtle, but she is not, you know? So she's like, "Oh my god, look, he's wearing a shacket. That one's
She
cute."
takes the shh out of shacket.
It was like incredibly embarrassing. And she's like, "Oh my god, everyone, look, he's wearing a shacket." And I go, "Yes, everyone turn around at the same time and stare at this guy and point. Let's all do it." And
Oh
and so
gosh.
at some point I get up to go get cookies for the table and I approach the guy, right? And I go, "Hey, so that
I'm gonna need to explain
right,
my entourage.
I felt like I had to. I was like, "Hey, my mom is like obsessed with shackets. She saw you come in wearing one. She wanted to point it out to everyone at the table." I go, "That is why everyone has been staring at you and pointing at her table." And he goes,
Did
"Thank
he
you."
even notice?
I don't know, but he just goes, "Thank you so much. My mom actually got me this jacket."
No, he did not.
Yes.
That is
Oh,
classic.
it was so great. And of course mommy talked to him on the way out
Oh my
but it
gosh.
was so funny. But back to your point of the name Shacket, that on my TikTok video, people were like upset that I was saying it was a new thing, right? So like this has been around forever. I was wearing these in the 60s, right? Which is why I know I'm getting
Right.
boomers. And I'm not trying to be derogatory to you boomers. I'm just saying it's a certain generation. And so people are like, "Oh, we used to call them jack shirts." And other people were like, "We called them
Jack
yeah,
shirts
jack
like a
shirt,
jackfruit.
like a jacket shirt." We
That is
called
weird.
them shirt jacks, and someone's like, "We called them CPOs." And I go, "I know C3PO, but I don't know,
I know
you know,
CPR. What's
what
CPO?
it was Chief Petty Officer." It's like it probably used to come in
Ah.
green, like army green,
Yep.
and I think Daddy had one from Vietnam. I actually remember him having something like that, right? Structured very similarly. And someone's like, "This is just a flannel shirt," and I was like, "No, it's not just a flannel shirt, actually. Oh, this is so much more than flannel." I'd explain. I'm like, "No, it's structured differently. It's a thicker material. It is also a flannel shirt, but it's also a jacket. Therefore, the shacket." And then I started
Yeah.
putting TM anytime I said shacket, and my responses, I would put a TM, and it was just
Have
it's
you, as if you trademarked it or just to acknowledge
just
that?
to say that it's just to make. I was just making a joke out of it. I'm like, "No, it's the shacket." They're like, "We call this a jack shirt." I'm like, "Well, now it's a shacket, the shacket."
Right.
So it's like
Jack shirt. That's before things like Benifer were around. So nobody was
that's so
being that
funny.
clever.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought about. I was like, shacket is Benifer, is the Benifer of clothing.
Because now that you say it, I also I have a camo problem, but I also have a army green problem. I have like 5 green jackets, like anywhere from like Zara to TJ Maxx and in between. And they are probably shackets, but I've never called it that. It's like structured. I have one that looks like a shirt, but it's
Mhm.
thicker. So it's clearly a jacket, but it is a shacket. But I would have never called it a shacket before the really kind of traditional flannel type thick shacket came into play.
Well, I'm telling you, there's definitely a resurgence in shackets because all these people are like, I need a shacket. Everyone's like, "Oh
Yeah,
my God, my mom bought me a shacket. Oh, my dad has 50 shackets. My husband has
right.
shackets." Someone's like, "Where can I get a shacket?" I'm like, "Well, mine's from Forever 21, but you can get them at Costco and Old Navy."
I'll
Uh,
tell you why. It's because, you go into a place with just a shirt and it's like a one-dimensional thing. But you go into a party or something with a jacket, and even if it looks like part of your ensemble, you have to take it off, and then your ensemble changes. A shacket, addresses both of those challenges because
right.
it can keep you warm, not too warm, and nobody expects you to like hang it up in the coat closet, but you can keep it on for the evening without suffocating.
It's
So
the perfect. It's the
it's the
perfect wardrobe
perfect,
item.
yes, it is. It is a perfect complement to anybody's wardrobe. And yes, I did FaceTime mommy at the mall before I left for my trip and tried on about 75 different colored shackets. And I was sending her pictures of everything, and she loved them all. So I ended up getting one that matched blue jeans and black pants.
And
So,
if you'd like a Sis Tell branded Shacket, they're now available on our website. That'd be amazing. I'm going to go research to see if we can do a Sis Tell Shacket.
oh, a Sis and Tell Shacket. I think it would. I think it would sell.
Well, thanks for listening to the first episode of our newest season 8. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Don't forget to share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your foes.
As always, this has been Amanda and Allison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.
Sis and Tell.